I'm not sure when I stopped seeing the colors in her paintings. For the first few years, when Claire would set up her easel in the back room with sunlight slanting in and jazz on low, I'd stand behind her with coffee and wonder how the hell I'd married someone so radiant. She had this way of brushing gold into gray skies or making the chipped paint on an old Kentucky porch feel like it had something to say. But over time, I realized her canvases had stopped reflecting the world. They started hiding it. I'm Owen Grafton, 41. I run a small art gallery in Asheville, North Carolina, curating regional work, hosting wine-fogged openings that mostly draw middle-aged women with thin glasses and strong opinions. My life's slow, honest. Like it's been sanded down to the grain. Claire came into it like a sunbeam through cracked glass. We met when she applied to be our in-house artist-in-residence 8 years ago. Her portfolio looked like it had soul, her eyes looked like they didn't need saving, and I was tired of being the guy who tried. We married in less than a year. Everyone said it was romantic. Destiny. Some of them said that with warmth. Some said it with raised eyebrows. I ignored both. Claire was my second try at love. My first wife left after I took care of my father through a brutal 6-month slide into Parkinson's. She said I cared for ghosts more than the living. Claire, on the other hand, said grief made me real. She was a teacher when we met substituting middle school art classes, and she painted on the side. That side eventually grew. She picked up a few commissions, then more. Suddenly she was making more than I was. I didn't mind. I was proud. Until I started noticing the missing weeks. She said she was painting out in Boone. Retreats, she called them. Time away to think and be creative. But her brushes stayed clean. Her travel bag didn't smell like turpentine and oils, it smelled like cologne. That was the first sign. The second came when I opened her laptop one night to download a shared tax document. I wasn't snooping. But the email was open. And the subject line hit me like a steel beam. I can't keep lying to him forever. When are you leaving her? There was no name. Just the signature. Why? The email was short. Raw. Too raw for someone she just met. And that's when it started. The unraveling. I didn't confront her. I'm not a screamer. I don't flip tables or throw drinks. I gather. I spent the next 2 weeks doing just that. I dug into her calendar, the payment apps on her phone, her cloud storage. I found hotel receipts from Savannah and Asheville, same weekends, different billing names. I found 3 photos she deleted but hadn't cleared from her recently deleted folder. Her in a robe. Her in front of a mirror. A man's hand in frame holding a glass of red wine. I started checking her painting logs. That's when it got worse. Because Claire hadn't just been lying to me. She'd been stealing. Several of the commissions she told me never got paid. They had. Thousands deposited into a separate account under a business name I didn't recognize, Wren Hollow Studios. Her LLC. No mention of me. No mention of our gallery. Just Claire and her silent partner, a name I'd see later printed on the footer of a PDF receipt. Your own teller. A contractor. Married. 2 kids. Lives in South Carolina. Travels to Asheville for work. They were building a business behind my back. Using my gallery contacts, my mailing list, my credibility, and funneling funds into something that didn't include me. The betrayal wasn't sexual. It wasn't just emotional. It was professional. It was theft. I could have exploded. Packed a bag. Confronted her. Screamed, cried, maybe even begged. But that's not who I am. Because some paintings aren't meant to be thrown away. Some are meant to be restored. I didn't want to make her suffer. I wanted to make her irrelevant. So I made a plan. And the first thing I needed to do was let her finish it. Let her think the brush was still in her hand. Let her believe the canvas was hers to ruin. The first thing I did was stop answering her questions. Not all of them. Just the ones that mattered. Did you order more frames for the Rothschild showing? Are you coming to the Community Arts Mixer Thursday? Maybe. Is everything okay? Yeah. She didn't press. That's how I knew she thought she still had control. People like Claire aren't built for doubt. They need to believe they're the smartest person in the room, and if they aren't, they'll turn the lights off until everyone else trips. She still kissed me goodnight. She still touched my arm when she laughed. But I noticed she stopped painting in the house. Not once did I see her studio light on after dark. Because her art had already moved elsewhere into Wren Hollow Studios, her little secret world she thought I'd never uncover. I didn't say a word. Instead, I got to work. I started by copying the names of her clients from our shared gallery spreadsheet, people she'd claimed backed out or never replied. When I reached out to 3 of them, posing as a gallery assistant looking to confirm commission fulfillment, they all said the same thing. Oh, Claire already sent the invoice and the draft. I wired payment weeks ago. But that payment didn't go through our business account. It went to Ren Hollow. I documented everything. Screenshots. Bank names. Invoice numbers. I created a folder called False Canvas. Each file was another crack in the mirror she'd painted of our life. The next phase was subtle. I met with my accountant, Joel, an old friend who'd done our books since year one. Told him Claire wanted to streamline finances and I wanted to make sure everything was clean before tax season. Joel had no idea. Not at first. But when I showed him a few inconsistencies in our 1099s and vendor disbursements, his eyes changed. She's running parallel revenue, he said. If you want to move to sole ownership of the gallery, we can shift the LLC structure. That was all I needed. In 14 days, I filed paperwork with the state to restructure Grafton Gallery as a sole proprietorship under my name. Claire's name was never on the deed, just the shared accounts, which I froze the following week, citing suspicious access patterns. She found out the night her debit card declined at dinner. We were out with friends, two artist couples, drinking sangria at a rooftop bar in West Asheville. Claire smiled as she handed over her card. When the waitress came back and said, "I'm sorry, this one didn't go through," her face didn't flinch. She just reached for mine. But I caught the glance, the flicker in her eye. She knew I knew something. I let her think that was the worst of it. It wasn't. That weekend, while she was teaching a 2-day watercolor intensive in Charleston, I drove to a business park just outside Greer, South Carolina. Ren Hollow Studios. Suite 8C. Second floor. Frosted windows. New signage. I waited across the parking lot in my truck for 2 hours. At 4:12 p.m., a black Lincoln Navigator pulled up. Out stepped a tall man in a blue button-down carrying an iPad and a takeaway coffee tray. Your own teller. I knew it was him. I'd seen his real estate firm's photo on their website. Family man. Developer. Wife named Cindy. 2 daughters. Sunday school teacher. He walked in like he owned the place. Which, according to the business filings Marla pulled for me, he partially did. I let him stay 20 minutes before I stepped out and took a photo of the office sign, then another of his car's license plate. On the way home, I mailed a carefully worded envelope to a return address I found linked to Teller's HOA board registration. Inside, printed screenshots, a timeline, a list of business transactions with Claire's name, and a letter that read, "You don't know me, but I know what you're building together. And I think your family deserves to know too. Unless, of course, you want this cleaned up quietly. I'll give you 1 week." I didn't sign it. Didn't need to. By Tuesday, Ren Hollow Studios was offline. The website wiped. The Instagram gone. The domain deactivated. Claire came home that night unusually quiet. She poured herself 2 fingers of rye, then sat in the studio room she hadn't entered in months. She didn't paint. Just stared at the blank canvas. As if waiting for it to tell her what to do. I didn't say anything. Because revenge isn't about shouting from rooftops. It's about letting silence echo long enough that they start hearing the lies they built everything on. That night, as she showered, her phone buzzed. Normally, I wouldn't look. But the screen lit up and I saw 1 line from a new number. "He knows." I told her. "Do what you have to. Burn it all." That's when I knew this wasn't just an affair. It was a conspiracy. And the fire she started? She was planning to finish it. I didn't tell Claire I'd seen the message. She came out of the shower in a robe, steam trailing behind her like a ghost, and kissed me like nothing was wrong. That was her signature move, soft hands and soft lies. The kind that made you second-guess your instincts. But I wasn't guessing anymore. I was watching. That message, "Do what you have to. Burn it all," wasn't just metaphor. Claire had always been a minimalist when it came to conflict. Erase, deny, deflect. But this time her back was against the wall. And people like her don't surrender. They incinerate. So I changed the locks on the back office. And I moved all financial records, both digital and paper, into a safety deposit box under my sister's name in Charlotte. Then I backed up every screenshot, receipt, and banking trail I had into 3 separate encrypted folders, one on a USB I carried on my keyring, one in a hidden drive, and one in a secure cloud account owned by a fake identity Marla set up for me. I also recorded our conversations. Every night I wore a wristband recorder under my flannel cuff. It was legal in North Carolina, single-party consent. I didn't need her permission. Not after what I'd uncovered. Because Claire wasn't just running side accounts and skimming commissions. She was also forging signatures. I found proof on a digital doc left open on her iPad, an end-of-year donor letter to the Asheville Modern Collective thanking them for a private contribution she'd pocketed. My name signed at the bottom. Not by me. She was using me as a cover. Again. I sent the doc to Marla, who confirmed what I feared: if she pushed the paperwork through a few more orgs, I could end up liable for tax fraud or grant misuse. Claire wasn't just preparing to leave. She was preparing to leave me holding the bag. That's when I realized I couldn't just let her burn the house down behind her. I had to light the match first. So I did something I'd been waiting weeks to do. I made a call to Elena Davenport, chair of the Western Carolina Regional Arts Council, a woman who had supported Claire's early rise with quiet donations and glowing endorsements. Elena liked me, trusted me. She once said I was the kind of man who wouldn't sell beauty just to buy status. I asked for a meeting. I brought the files. I brought the voice recordings. I showed her every receipt, signature, and statement. And when I finished, I said, "I'm not trying to ruin Claire. I'm trying to stop her from ruining anyone else." Elena's face didn't change much, but her words did. "She's applying for state arts funding under Wren Hollow," she said. "Claimed she's opening a multidisciplinary studio in Charleston with her husband's blessing." I shook my head. "She's leaving me bankrupt, legally exposed, and completely erased. That's her plan." Elena sipped her coffee, then tapped the folder in front of her. "She won't get a cent now." I stood to leave, but she stopped me. "One question, Owen. What do you want out of this?" I thought for a moment. "Just one thing," I said. "When this story gets told, make sure it's mine." The next 72 hours unfolded like a chain reaction. First, the funding request from Wren Hollow was formally declined. Then Elena quietly circulated a red flag warning to her contacts in Raleigh and Savannah, alerting them to ethical irregularities in a pending artist grant.
"Sorry to interrupt your viewing experience, but we really need your support, namely a subscription to the channel, which can make it possible to hire a professional voice actor and make the best content for you."
Claire's name was unofficially blacklisted. 2 days later, a local reporter reached out to me for comment on a potential scandal involving forged signatures in Regional Gallery communications. I declined comment, but I emailed him a file. Anonymous. Clean. Let Claire chase the ghost. The final move came the following week. Claire walked into the gallery on a Tuesday morning wearing sunglasses indoors, which she never did, and holding 2 lattes. She handed me one. I didn't take it. She tilted her head. "What's wrong?" I nodded toward the office. "We need to talk." She hesitated. "Can it wait?" "No." She followed me inside. I closed the door, turned on the recorder in my pocket. She didn't know. I pulled out 2 envelopes and slid them across the desk. One was the legal notice severing her from Grafton Gallery, retroactive to the date I discovered the first fraudulent invoice. The other was a printed draft of the reporter's pending article, everything laid bare. Affairs. Fraud. The forged signatures. The clients she siphoned. Claire stared at both without touching them. She didn't speak. For the first time in years, I saw her falter. Not cry. Just, still. Then she looked up and whispered, "You can't prove it all." I leaned back, looked her in the eye. "Don't need to. I just need you to know that I can. And more importantly, they know." She didn't ask who they were. She didn't have to. Because by then she'd already received the emails. Already seen the funding pulled. Already heard from Yaron, who, by Marla's report, panicked and confessed everything to his wife to get ahead of the story. Claire stood, straightened her coat, and said, "You always needed to be the good guy. That's why I left." I smiled. "Good doesn't mean blind, Claire. It means patient." She left without another word. That night, I poured a glass of scotch and sat in her now empty studio. A single canvas remained. Blank. I dipped her favorite brush in black paint and made one slow, deliberate stroke. A slash across white. A signature of what was no longer hers. The article dropped on a Monday. Front page of the Asheville Ledger's Arts and Culture section. Brushstrokes and bank accounts, how a celebrated regional artist defrauded her way to the top. They didn't name me directly. But they didn't have to. The piece outlined Claire's double-booked commissions, the Shell LLC, the erased tax filings, and a tangled personal relationship with a married real estate developer that overlaps with fraudulent grant applications. The gallery didn't open that day. I didn't need it to. By 10 a.m., 3 local donors had called asking if their prior gifts were safe. By noon, 2 former clients of Claire's emailed asking if I'd testify on their behalf in a civil suit. By 3 o'clock, someone slid a manila envelope under the gallery door. No note. Inside were 9 printed photographs. All taken years ago. Mostly candid. Claire at a bar, laughing with a man who wasn't me. Claire leaving an office building in Charleston. Claire in a hotel lobby with a clipboard and a name tag that read Diana L. I looked at the envelope again. No return address. Just a wax seal. Pressed into black, 2 initials. E.H. The name hit me like a loose nail underfoot. Elias Hart. I hadn't heard it in 5 years. Elias was Claire's mentor back when she taught in public schools. Older artist, professor, known for woodblock prints and abstract coastal landscapes. He disappeared from the scene after a quiet divorce and a rumored nervous breakdown. Claire always described him as too sensitive for the industry. I called Marla. She picked up on the second ring. You got the envelope, she said, like she knew already. You sent it. No, she said. But I helped Elias find you. He's been trying to come forward for a while. I hesitated. Why now? Because he blames himself for what she became. We met 2 days later in the corner of a bookstore cafe up near Black Mountain. Elias was older than I remembered. Thinner. But his eyes were still sharp. He slid a folder across the table without ceremony. She did it to me first, he said. 10 years ago. Said she wanted to learn the business side of art. Helped with grant applications. Then siphoned clients to her own studio while I was recovering from a stroke. I opened the folder. Legal letters. A restraining order he never filed. A confession email, half apology, half power play. Claire claiming she had to take what she earned because no one else would give it to her. She learned how to paint life from me, he said. But she learned how to use darkness on her own. I asked him why he never came forward. He looked away. I loved her. Thought maybe I created the monster. I closed the folder gently. You didn't, I said. He nodded, but I could tell he didn't fully believe it. Before he left, he handed me a USB. She tried to ruin me quietly. You stopped her publicly. That matters more than you know. That night, I watched the videos on the USB. Hidden camera footage from Elias's home studio, Claire arguing with him, mocking his condition, suggesting he make room for the next generation. Audio clips of her laughing about old men with fragile egos to someone off-screen. She wasn't just ambitious. She was calculated. Predatory. It made me sick to watch. But it also gave me closure. The betrayal wasn't mine alone to carry. It never was. The next morning, I did something I hadn't done since this all began. I painted. Not to sell. Not for healing. But to remember who I was before her fingerprints got all over my life. I started with a white canvas. Then I laid down rust-red strokes, like brick, like blood, like southern clay. I added black, jagged cuts where her lies lived. I let the colors bleed into each other. Ugly. Beautiful. Honest. No signature. Just the texture of truth. That weekend, I hosted a private exhibit. No press. No sponsors. Just close friends, former clients, and a quiet plaque on the wall that read, "Some stories don't need heroes. Just someone who refused to stay silent." Claire didn't show up. But she heard. Because 3 days later, a lawyer representing her reached out. Claire would prefer a mutual non-disclosure agreement. In exchange, she'll surrender all claims to the gallery, drop any counteractions, and walk away clean. I declined. Told him I'd take my chances in open air. Because you don't bury poison with paperwork. You let the sun hit it. At night now, the gallery is still. No drama. No pretending. Just canvases and breath and space. I leave her easel in the corner untouched. Not out of nostalgia. Out of proof. Every empire leaves behind a ruin. And every ruin tells a story louder than a signature ever could. Claire always had one talent that scared me more than any other. She could cry without blinking. The tears came. The voice cracked just right. But the eyes? Dry. Focused. Like a hunter behind a pane of glass. So when she showed up at the gallery a week after the exhibit, uninvited, wrapped in a long coat she used to wear when she wanted to appear artsy but grounded, I knew something was coming. "I'm not here to fight," she said. I let her in. But I didn't offer her coffee. That mattered. She walked the gallery like she was still entitled to the walls. Paused at a new painting I'd done, burnt sienna, ash gray sky, a broken ladder leaning against an empty barn. "You were always good," she said. "I still am," I said. "That's the difference." She sighed, then launched her final pitch. "I'm not trying to undo what I did, Owen. I know the damage. I live with it every day." I waited. But this, all of this? The articles, the letters, the bored emails? It's bigger than me now. I'm getting blacklisted from galleries I've never even shown in. "Good," I said. "Means the story's traveling." She gave a practiced half-laugh, then leaned forward. "Look, I'll walk. I'll forfeit anything tied to Wren Hollow, dissolve the LLC, even put in writing that I made unethical decisions. I didn't speak, but I need you to rescind the press packet. The one sent to the Charleston Collectors Guild and the Triangle Arts Exchange. I know you were behind it. I looked her dead in the eye. Those packets didn't come from me. She froze. Because they didn't. They came from Elena Davenport. After our conversation, she and 2 other board members decided to do it themselves. I never asked them to. They said they were tired of protecting people who twisted funding and exploited mentorships. Claire bit her lip. Just hard enough to draw color. She always did that when she realized she couldn't spin a room. She switched tones. If you don't help me, I'll tell them we both did it, she said. You signed off on everything. They won't know who forged what. I smiled then. Not wide. Just enough. Because I'd been waiting for her to say that. I opened the desk drawer and slid out a single page. One Claire didn't know existed. A certified time-stamped forensic analysis of every digital signature submitted to the Wren Hollow grant system. At the bottom, signature ID match, 1/2 Claire Lane Teller. Match 100%. Second entry fabricated via vector insert. Match 0% Owen Grafton. I slid it across the table. She read it in silence. Read it again. And then she did something I didn't expect. She blinked. Just once. And cried. Not the performance tears. Real ones. Because now she knew it was over. The stage was gone. The spotlight dead. You really did it, she whispered. No, I said. You did it. I just didn't let you hide it. She stood up slowly. No anger. No threat. Just the hollow weight of being seen for the first time without her costume. At the door, she turned. Do you ever think about how good we were before all this? I looked her in the eyes for the last time. Yeah, I said. We were a great painting. Until you started painting over me. Claire left Asheville 2 days later. I don't know where to. Her car disappeared from her parking spot by the studio. Her Instagram was wiped, website gone, phone line disconnected. She didn't issue a statement. Didn't sue. Didn't push. She just evaporated. Like a bad myth that finally got too loud to live in. In the following weeks, I reopened Grafton Gallery with a new show. Ruins and Returns. Not mine. Other artists. People whose names were once buried under hers. One of them was Elias Hart. He stood next to me on opening night, holding a glass of sparkling water with both hands like he didn't trust it to stay. You did it, he said. No, I said. We did. The gallery was quiet after everyone left. And in the silence, I finally did something I hadn't let myself do. I took down the last painting Claire ever made here. Framed in her old copper trim, signed with that curling L in her name like a flourish she thought no one could erase. I didn't destroy it. I archived it. Wrapped it. Labeled it. Property of the past. Do not display. Because some betrayals don't belong in view. They belong in storage. Where they can't hurt anyone anymore. Winter came slow that year. The kind of December where the cold doesn't crash in, it just settles. Like regret you've made peace with. By then, the gallery had found its new rhythm. We weren't pulling in national headlines or 7-figure collectors. But we were clean. Honest. Ours. I built a new mission statement. Not about prestige. Not about profits. About process. We offered studio space for early career artists. No fees, no gatekeeping, no networking politics. Just light, tools, and time. I taught workshops on canvas prep and brush care. I even helped restretch old paintings for the local historical society. The place felt lived in again. Not curated alive. Claire never resurfaced. Not really. A friend in Charleston mentioned hearing about a woman renting space under the name Rena L. Said she was trying to rebrand with abstract sculpture and silent installations. No photos, no shows. I didn't follow up. Some ghosts are better off wandering. One evening, 3 months after the scandal broke, I got a letter in a plain white envelope. No return address. Inside, a single typed sentence. You didn't have to end me. And underneath, handwritten in that looped, perfect script of hers. But you did it beautifully. I didn't respond. There was nothing left to say. You can only paint over so many mistakes before the canvas gives up. But I didn't. I stayed. I grew. I reconnected with people Claire had pushed away. Friends I hadn't realized I lost. I started taking long walks again, near the Blue Ridge where the fog moves like breath between the trees. Where the silence doesn't accuse you. It forgives you. One day I ran into a woman I'd met years ago at a gallery show, Leah Marin, a textile artist from Chapel Hill. Back then, Claire had barely let me finish a conversation with her. This time, we talked for 45 minutes standing outside a food truck. She didn't ask about Claire. She asked about my work. That was the first time someone had looked at me not as a survivor of something but as a man who'd built something new. We started getting coffee. Then walks. Then dinners. It wasn't fireworks. It was firelight. Slow. Safe. Warm. One night, Leah walked through the gallery after closing and paused in front of a small piece near the back, a storm gray painting I'd done the week after Claire left. "You signed this one?" she asked. "No," I said. Didn't feel like it was mine yet. She looked at it for a long moment. "Sometimes," she said, "what makes a piece yours isn't how you start it. It's how you finish it." A week later, I took her advice. I pulled out a small brush, and with the softest touch, I added my initials OG in the corner. Not to mark it as mine, but to remind myself. I was still here, still creating, still me. They say revenge is best served cold, but I don't agree. The best revenge is living a life where they can't hang their lies on your walls anymore. A life that doesn't need to scream its freedom. Just breathe it. Every damn day.
What do you think of the story? Write in the comments.